Imagine torturing calories hours after you finished your workout. Today, I'm going to be talking about the number one science backed way to burn more calories post workout. If you don't know me, I'm Matt Banwart. I own Red Wolf CrossFit in Huntington Beach, California, with my wife, Caitlin. And we started this podcast with one goal in mind, and that was to make fitness education accessible, engaging, and effective for everyone. So, we're talking about EPOC today. I know it sounds like a disease, but what that acronym stands for is excess post exercise oxygen consumption. So the acronym is EPOC or EPOC. I prefer to call oxygen debt. I think that gives a much better illustration to what we're actually be talking about. And today we're going to be talking about its connection to calorie burn, fat loss, and recovery. And it matters because whether you're an athlete, a coach, or if you're just someone to maximize your results, understanding oxygen debt can take your training to the next level. And this whole purpose is to give you a reason to actually go a little bit harder in your conditioning pieces, especially if you're a CrossFitter. Because let's be real, you probably only burn, realistically, depending on your muscle mass and basal metabolic rate, only about 200 to maybe 300 calories in a traditional WOD or a CrossFit workout. And so the more intense you can go, or the more of oxygen debt you can build up, the more energy your body needs to clear lactate from the system, et cetera. I'll go into the details in a second. But you'll burn more calories post-exercise, the more of a oxygen debt that you are in. So let's go right into the science of oxygen debt. So let's define it first. So we already said that it stands for excess post-exercise consumption, and that's exactly what it sounds like. So your body is consuming more oxygen post-exercise to recover. And the physiological processes behind this is that oxygen is used to do these things. And first off, it's going to replenish ATP and creatine phosphate stores. So those are literally energy systems that power your body during an actual workout. So it's replenishing those as you recover. It clears lactate from the system and reduces acidity in the muscle. So lactate is literally used as an energy source, and that's kind of like the bread and butter of CrossFit is that glycolytic or lactate system. Both are the exact same thing, just two different ways to say it. It's kind of like that really, pretty much that burning sensation you get. A really good example of this is like that 50 cal echo bike we've done in class, and that really burns, and also you really feel it for the rest of your day almost. And when I did that workout, oh God, it took me 45 minutes to recover out of that, because that's how much of an oxygen I went to, because that's how hard I went. Now, if you're one of those people that you get done with a workout, and especially if it's a shorter workout, and you just walk away easily, and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Well, you probably didn't go hard enough, and you're not in enough of an oxygen depth to actually get into this EPOC setting. And the issue is with that is that, again, with a shorter CrossFit workout, you're maybe burning 100 to 150 calories depending on the duration of the workout. Another thing it goes do is it restores oxygen levels in muscle tissues, because as you exercise and as you do a high intensity exercise, your muscles literally need oxygen in order to function as an energy source. And so when it goes into a debt, it starts pulling from everywhere it can: fat, oxygen, like I said, carbohydrates. It also regulates body temperature and hormonal balance. All right. So it's going to bring all those things back to baseline. And the benefits of this is that you can have a prolonged caloric burn throughout the day. Okay. So it can last up to 1 to 2 hours post workout. Now, again, we don't have a ton of science behind this, but it can increase your total energy expenditure by up to 15% of the calories that you burn during your workout. So just have an estimate. Let's say you did do like a long workout, like a 30-minute EMOM, you burn like 300 to 500 calories, multiply by 0.15, and then add that to the caloric burn, and there you go. You get a little bit extra. And also muscle repair and recovery. So it's crucial for anyone who is looking to push their limits in the gym. This is what CrossFit is also really good at, and this is why I like it, because it's really easy to get into an oxygen debt, especially in a group setting. It's really hard to do this on your own. Let's be real. Like, those of you who've worked out on your own, kudos to you. But in my opinion, I think it's really hard unless you're a certain type of person, and there's not many of those out there who can go as hard as they can by themselves in like their garage or in like a traditional gym or wherever to actually build up enough oxygen debt to where you actually get that extra caloric burn. Now let's talk about the factors that actually impact oxygen debt. So first off, exercise intensity, and this is what we're already leading into, is that intensity is key when it comes to building up an oxygen debt. And the harder you push, the greater the oxygen deficit, and the longer it takes for your body to recover. So we've done workouts like Fran's another good example, or the 50 cal Echo Bike Sprint. Puma Pounds is another good one. Puma Pounds, if you don't know what that is, that's our Red Wolf CrossFit benchmark workout where it's a 20 cal Echo Bike, 20 bar facing burpees. The top people can get in the low, just over a minute. I'm sure a games athlete can go much faster than that. But some other examples of high intensity exercises is like a 30-second sprint all out, or heavy lifting, squats, deadlifts, and other compound movements can cause a significant afterburn. So, for example, we just wrapped up a 20 rep max squat cycle, and everyone who did that, especially if you actually lifted heavy and pushed your limits after you hit the 20th rep, you were on the ground for a while, or at least having to sit, and you were breathing really hard too, because as the body's under tension and as you're squatting and as you're going through all these muscle contractions, the body needs oxygen in order to function. And then once it's also the lungs are compressed during a squat, so it's harder to get a good breath. And then once the midline is done stabilizing, you're clearing all that lactate that you just built up from the 20 rep max squat with oxygen, and because you're in an oxygen debt. So exercise duration also matters. So when intensity matters more than duration, but combining the two, like a long, grueling CrossFit workout, can also help your oxygen debt as well. So you have to think like, a really long aerobic piece, like Murph, I guess, is a good option as well, even though that's also very muscular. Hero WODs in general. Just a long CrossFit workout can also build up oxygen debt as well, depending on how hard you go. But intensity actually does matter more. So if there's anything you take away from this, intensity is king when it comes to oxygen debt. Now, when it comes to the type of exercise, both matter, okay? So both aerobic exercise, and aerobic literally means with oxygen. So, and also anaerobic exercise. So let's cover aerobic first. So aerobic exercise can increase moderate oxygen debt, and this can last up to 1 to 2 hours post-workout. And that's more of like cardio stuff. So like, ski erg, bike erg, rowing, running, jump rope, burpees, think low nervous system, or low skill, high intensity, just constant movements, a lot of body weight and aerobic work. And then anaerobic it comes into more lifting or sprinting. Okay. So that's or high intensity intervals, and that produces a much larger and longer oxygen debt. Your lean muscle mass also is metabolically expensive. So what that means is the more muscle you have, the higher your oxygen debt will be, because obviously the bigger the muscle is, the more oxygen it needs to consume in order to function. Now we're going to go over strategies on how to actually maximize this in the gym. Some actual tips here. So training design or program design is the combination of strength and conditioning will build up the most amount of oxygen debt. Shocker, I know. So having workouts like burpees and heavy thrusters and kettlebell swings and box jumps is an oxygen debt machine. And this is what makes CrossFit so effective, because before CrossFit, I did this traditional training split where it's like bis and tris, whatever, legs one day, and then you do like some running or some sprinter or even some high intensity intervals. But first off, it took forever to get done. It took like 2 hours of training, and then I didn't have that much time. And then on top of that, the gains weren't as good as they could have been, at least when I started CrossFit. I started blasting through all my plateaus, and it was because specifically of the intensity, because I didn't even really know what intensity was, and no one really knows what intensity is until you do something like CrossFit. And so intensity techniques as well. So you want to have progressive overload, and this is where, lifting heavier over time can increase the metabolic cost of your training. So if you're one of those people that stay stuck in the same old training, or you're comfortable with the same weights over time, you've already adapted because you're comfortable. So what you need to do is get into a discomfort, or an uncomfortable, not discomfortable, that's not even a word, but an uncomfortable amount of weight or load to your lifts, and that will definitely help you push past and get you into more of a debt like that. And then you also want to keep rest periods short as well. So there's different, I'm not going to get into the details of power and anaerobic and resting intervals, but Your rest period should be short when you're going for an oxygen jet. So we're working more on capacity than we are on power. So you want to keep rest periods anywhere between 30 and 60 seconds to maintain a high metabolic demand. So you have to think the shorter you rest, the more metabolic it is. The longer you rest, the more power it's going to be. So for example, if you're doing a set of 5 back squats and then you rest 3 minutes, there's nothing wrong with that. Is that you're working more on strength and power there, so you're not going to go nearly into much of an oxygen debt. However, let's say we did 3 sets of 10 back squats with a 60-second rest. That's going to be much more metabolically taxing, and you're going to be breathing really hard during that time. Now, you won't be able to do as much weight, so it won't be as good for building strength or muscle. However, it will boost your metabolic system, and metabolic meaning metabolism literally means that you're using food as a fuel source for your training, which is what you want, especially if you're going for body composition or fat loss. Now, balancing recovery with frequency. Now, this is really crucial because you have to aim for 2 to 4 high-intensity sessions per week. So if you're doing less than that, you're not really getting enough benefit. And intensity is relative to the individual, and you also need to pair this with adequate sleep, hydration, and nutrition, because at the end of the day, body composition is more about nutrition and how you recover from the training, not the training itself. Now let's talk about what oxygen jet is not. So I do want to clear up some misconceptions about oxygen jet, and the myth is that it burns a lot of extra calories. Let's be real. So earlier I said it was about 15%, or it can burn up to 1 to 2 hours post workout. Now, that's just ballpark numbers. Okay, we don't know exactly for sure, and again, it's going to matter depending on the individual. It's going to matter everything from how old you are, how long you've been training, your lean body mass, your body fat mass, your resting heart rate, your basal metabolic rate. All these things are going to factor in, your sleep, your stress, whatever. I could go on and on. But while oxygen jet can be significant, it's not a magic bullet. Okay, so don't listen to this and think, oh, well, I just have to go really hard for 3 minutes and I'm just going to burn an extra 500 calories. No, that's not the case. So for most people, it maybe will add up to 50 to 150 calories post workout. Now, I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but that is a lot better than working out. I would much rather work out for, 20, 30 minutes and have a 50 to 150 calorie post-workout burn than work out for 2 hours and have nothing. So pick your poison there. Again, that especially with the higher intensity stuff, it could be more. Again, just depends on the person. Another myth I need to address is that you don't need proper nutrition if you're in an oxygen debt. Now, this is a great myth, because I think a lot of people also believe that as long as they work out really hard, they can eat whatever they want. And especially as you age, we find out that's definitely not the truth. So it matters. What you eat matters just as much as fueling a workout optimizes results. So don't rely on oxygen debt to just be like, hey, it's my extra calorie burn, I can go eat an entire pizza after the workout. Don't do that, please, for the love of God. Now let's go and do some actual examples of oxygen jet in action. Okay, so I have a Garmin, so when I track I do track my calories on my watch. I don't really track calories that I eat, but at least it gives me somewhat of an idea of how many calories I'll burn. So for example, like a 30-minute EMOM with rowing, burpee box jumpers, and like kettlebell swings or whatever, toes to bars. So a lot of body weight stuff and, very powerful movements that aren't high skill. I could probably burn maybe up to 400 to 500 calories. Now, if with my body weight, I'm about 200 pounds, I'm about 13% body fat. So the immediate burn will be around 400 to 500 calories if I'm lucky. Okay. And then my oxygen jet burn will be about 75 calories over the next 24 hours, give or take. Now that is just kind of an estimate. And this is what makes CrossFit effective. I kind of went into this a little bit earlier, but I want to go into it again, is that the combination of strength, cardio, and short rest periods will create a perfect storm for maximizing the afterburn effect. Okay. So this is what a lot of training programs get wrong, is that they don't go intense enough. And I know intensity is kind of a buzzword. I've also told people that intensity is not always the answer, which is true. However, if you're looking to maximize the results, and especially specifically in our CrossFit classes, or you stop seeing results, first off, you need to look at your lifestyle and what's going on underneath the hood. So look at your sleep, your stress, your nutrition, and your hydration. So you got to look at those holes in the bucket first, make sure that those are plugged. And then after that, make sure you come in and actually go as hard as you can. Not as hard as you can, but go extremely hard in your workouts to the point where You shouldn't be able to answer me in one word. So if I say, "How was the workout?" You should be like, "Eh, eh," and that should be your answer. Okay, just breathing and telling me to pretty much, go eat a dick or something. Um, Actually, no, you shouldn't even be able to say that because that's how hard you went. Earmuffs. Let's go over practical implications. So, here's some quick tips that you can actually do starting today or tomorrow when you come in for your next workout is to focus on high intensity, short duration workouts. Now, if you come to our classes or you do one-on-one training with us, we already do this. Okay. This is going to maximize. So you just have to show up. Really, it's that easy. So you're welcome. And then you need to include compound lifts like squats, deadlifts, and presses. Again, if you come to my gym, no need to worry about it. You already do it. You're welcome. Again. And then you want to use interval-based cardio like high-intensity intervals or sprint intervals. I prefer EMOMs, or I do like, every 5 minutes for this, you do this. Again, if you come to the gym, we always spread this out across the week. So that way we know we're hitting at least 2 to 4 high-intensity sessions. We're hitting at least each muscle group at least twice a week. And then we're accumulating anywhere between 75 to 150 minutes of aerobic work per week. So we do have a template that we base all this on to make sure we're making each touch point. And this is what makes our program so effective, is because we use these principles and we tie them into what our clients or what our members actually need. So we look at the data from what our members are presenting to us. And then from there, we make decisions on that data on how we're going to design our next training program. And I know I'm kind of old school where I don't buy programming. I do look at other programs to just stay current. But for the most part, nothing's really changed that much in the last 3 to 5 years in terms of principles or methodologies. So I just kind of adopt what I've learned over the last 17 years and plug that in to what I know is effective. And as long as people are seeing results, as long as people's body composition are getting better, as long as they're getting stronger, as long as they're getting faster and more agile, and they stay out of the nursing home longer, mission accomplished. Plan for recovery. Okay, so the thing is with intensity, I forgot to mention this, is that it does oxygen debt or the afterburn effect does depend on your body bouncing back stronger. So you need to be able to recover from this. If you can't recover from high intensity, you need to counter that with volume and frequency. Okay. So there's 3 core principles when it comes to strength and conditioning. So you have intensity, volume, and frequency, and you can really only do 2 out of 3 at the same time. So if you're doing intensity and volume, you cannot do it frequently. If you're doing intensity and frequently, you cannot do high volume. So there always needs to be a give or a take. And so we do monitor that in our classes, but that's something to be very aware of. And this is why having everything squared away on the back end of your fitness and your nutrition is more important than even the workouts themselves. Now let's go and start wrapping things up. Well, I'm almost out of breath. I'm getting an oxygen debt just from talking so fast in this podcast, but this is something that I really enjoy talking about. If you're bored, I don't really care, but sorry, I couldn't resist. So EPOC is your body's natural way, or oxygen debt is your body's natural way of rewarding hard work. So the harder you push, the more calories you'll burn even after you're done. Okay, so again, that's just a recap of what we talked about. Intensity and lean muscle are key to maximizing oxygen debt. So I don't want to leave out the whole part of gaining lean muscle mass. So we do need to do a lot of strength training and resistance training and eating a lot of protein in order to maximize muscle gains. Which we said earlier, which was the more muscle you have, the more oxygen the muscle will demand in order to function. And it's not just about burning calories, it's about enhancing recovery and performance. So as the body starts adapting, as you start adapting to the intensity, your recovery will get better, not only in between workouts, but in between days, training sessions, and even over the course of an entire training cycle, because you'll be building that clearance of lactate from your system. So what I want you guys to focus on this week, especially when you come in for your workouts, is to try implementing or mentally telling yourself, if you're going to go a little bit harder, just give me an extra 1 to 5% effort, and especially the shorter duration workouts or anything interval based. So if you're doing an EMOM, let's say we are doing a 30-minute EMOM, and I know they suck. Yes, I think they suck too, but they're very effective, is that to actually sprint each minute. So every time that there's one in there, sprint each minute, just see what happens, and then go from there. And if you're not sure where to start, then we have programs designed specifically for this purpose at Red Wolf. I do have a link on my website that has a ton of free resources that you can have. So if you're interested in that, just shoot me a DM on Instagram or something, and I'll send over the link to you. It doesn't cost anything. So if that's something you'd be interested in, just let me know. Well, thank you so much for listening. If this was helpful, please leave me a 5-star review so I know to make more content just like this. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Red Wolf CrossFit and DM your content suggestions there. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, good luck, have fun. Nailed it.